All right, today we want to discuss something very, very interesting. It is indeed an interesting time in the history of education in Nigeria. It is a very, very interesting time. I'm excited bringing you this information today. Once again, you are welcome to my channel. This is Sure Success channel. You are very, very welcome, and I hope you have a swell time. Now, something happened on the 12th of June 2023. Of course, we know June 12th as the Democracy Day in Nigeria. On this particular Democracy Day, something happened that will change the configuration, will change the nature of education or tertiary education, particularly in Nigeria. So on that date, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed a bill into law, and that bill is about student loan. That means henceforth students are going to be able to access loans for their tertiary education. I know you will be asking me, what do I mean by loan? I'm going to explain to you so that you will understand what loan is all about as against grant. A loan is a formal agreement on the basis of which a student is able to access funds to sponsor his education and pay back at an agreed time. That is a loan. This is different from grant. Grant is a kind of sponsorship that a student is given, and with this sponsorship, the student is able to pay his way through school without ever being required to make a repayment. So you have to understand that what the government is offering the Nigerian student is a loan. Interesting as it is, students who become beneficiary of this scheme are going to be required to pay back. So that is what this thing is all about in the nutshell. So the bill that the president signed into law was sponsored by the outgoing speaker of the lower house. By that I mean the House of Representatives, Mr. Gbajabiamila. He's the one that sponsored this bill. He titled the bill an act to provide easy access to higher education for Nigerians through interest-free loans from Nigeria Education Bank. So the implication of this already is that for the first time, the government is going to establish what you call an education bank. It is this education bank that will be responsible for granting interest-free loans to Nigerian students. Interest-free loans. So what that means is that the exact amount of money you were given as a loan is what you are required to pay back at the end of the day. No interest. Okay? So that is that. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves really is there really a need for the government to establish a loan scheme for Nigerian students? Is there really a need for that? Now, we know that the education sector in Nigeria has suffered a lot of years of neglect, a lot of years of, even though it's not absolute neglect because it gets a chunk of the budget, but it does not get enough. We have the education sector in Nigeria making up about 5% of Nigerian budget. Sometimes is less. It's just dancing around 5% and less. Meanwhile, the UNESCO standard is 15%. So the world best practice is for serious nations to give at least 15% of their budget to education every year. So we find that Nigeria does not even near 10%. So that is pretty much the reason why there is a rot in the infrastructure of our tertiary institutions. That's the reason why there is a dearth of personnel. That's the reason why there are incessant strikes and all that. But beyond that, we want to look at the student and his capacity to sponsor his education in tertiary institution, and that's where this loan comes in. We know that tertiary education has become very expensive and almost unaffordable for many middle class, average, everyday Nigerians. So what this loan is going to do is that it is going to help many to get back to school. It is going to revitalize the lost hope, dreams, and ambitions of Nigerian students. Many people, many of them have lost hope. Many of them have said, I don't have a sponsor. Many of them have said all manner of discouraging things concerning their education. But with the inception of this loan, you are going to find that many Nigerian students will go back to school. Now, let's take this a step further. Like I've said already, this bill entails already that the government is going to establish what we call an education bank. Now, this education bank will be responsible for granting loans. But before these loans are granted, there's going to be a thorough screening process that will ensure that those that will get the loans are those that really need it, so that it will not become that normal way we do things in Nigeria, where even the rich children, the rich kids are the ones that access funds that are meant for the poor. So this bill has provisions for ensuring that it is the right people that get the loan. And then another thing you have to bear in mind, which is very, very reasonable, is that the students in government tertiary institutions are the only ones that will be considered for this loan. Private university students will not be considered for this, for very, very obvious reasons. For very obvious reasons. So this is for students in government-owned tertiary institutions in Nigeria. And we have to bear in mind that this loan is only for education. If you are not interested in putting this in your school fees and your academics, it's better you don't access the loan. If you need money for flexing, you need money to touch up your room, to rent self-con apartment and to do stuffs like that, then don't go for the loan. It is for education purposes only. And the bill is going to ensure that there is no discrimination whatsoever against anybody. Everything will be transparent, no matter your religion, no matter your culture, no matter your tribe, no matter anything, where you are coming from, whether you are disabled, whether you are of a high position or a low position in the society in terms of your parentage, you will not be discriminated against. Now, let's quickly look at the eligibility requirement for accessing this loan before we close. Number one, of course, you know that before you can access this kind of loan, you must be a Nigerian studying in Nigeria. You must be a Nigerian studying in Nigeria. There is no provision for people that are Nigerians that are studying outside. This is not a scholarship scheme. This does not sponsor people that are not within the shores of the country. So you have to be a Nigerian within Nigeria, studying in Nigeria, in order to be able to access this loan. Another very important criteria is that the income of your family, your entire annual income, must be less than 500,000 naira. You have to bring evidence that shows that your family does not earn more than 500,000 naira in a year. That qualifies you to access this loan. Of course, you must bring guarantors that meet the conditions, so that the guarantors will guarantee that you will repay the loan. Now, we have to understand that the government is doing this to ensure sustainability of the scheme. If the government doesn't put all these things in place, the scheme will be abused. So you have to bring guarantors that if you decide to escape and run away, those guarantors are going to be held responsible for the loan and they will be made to pay back. Okay, so people must guarantee you. Now, talking about how to apply for the loan, I'm going to close with how to apply for the loan and maybe talk about the repayment and then we will close. So the first step for applying for the loan is to qualify. Of course, you know, if you are not qualified, you cannot apply. Now you have to understand that to apply for the loan, you have to do that through your school. You have to go through the student affairs department of your school, because it is the student affairs department that is going to be responsible for screening the students and selecting those that meet the criteria. So when they have finished screening the students, they will select those that meet the criteria and publish their names in a document. That document will be part of your application document. In your application, you have to enclose the document containing the list of all the eligible candidates or students in your school. Of course, you will tick where your name appears in that document. So you are going to submit it. You are going to submit it with a cover letter. You will learn how to write a cover letter for loan. You submit that. You are going to submit evidence of your admission letter from JAMB and your admission letter from your school. And then you are going to submit a document from your guarantors with their passports and details about them, details about what they do, okay, that will help the government to track them. So when you submit all these things, it is the responsibility of the student affairs of your school to submit to the loan board, At the end of the day, you've been given this loan and you've gone to school, you've done your course, maybe it is 4 years or 5 years course or 6 years course as the case may be, and you finished. The government allows you the liberty, the freedom to go for your youth service. When you go for your youth service and return, the government allows you to work for 2 years. When you've worked for 2 years, then it is time to repay your loan. So the government would design a system that will deduct 10% from your paycheck every month. The government will work out a system with your employer to take the loan back. Now, this is very important. Even if you change your job, you have to inform the government about the new employer and everything so that they will be able to collect the money. The government is serious, the bill is serious about collecting the loan back from beneficiaries. The repayment is serious. That is why I said earlier that if you want to collect loan not for the purpose of education, please forget about it. Please bury the thought. If you don't pay back, if you default, you can be locked up, and the jail term is 2 years. The jail term is 2 years. And if you are found trying to help or assist somebody to default this repayment, you will also be in trouble. You'll be charged a fine of 500,000, or you'll be locked up, or both will apply to you. Now, the government is doing this to ensure sustainability of this vision, to ensure the sustainability of the goal of the scheme. Because if they don't take the repayment of the loan seriously, then they will soon suffer unavailability of cash. The money that was mapped out for that scheme will finish. So there is need that beneficiaries will pay back into the scheme so that others will benefit. Otherwise, the scheme will die. So I think we have gotten a general overview of what this is all about. So How you will do it, you don't need to run around, you don't need to do anything. You just need to approach your student affairs department, approach the dean of your student affairs, and your application will start. As we hope for the best, we hope that this wonderful initiative will not be aborted. We hope Nigeria will not happen to this initiative, that it will be sustained, and that better schemes are going to be mapped out for Nigerian students. I hope you found value in this video. I want to encourage you, if you've not subscribed to our channel, subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. You can comment, you can share with your friends, you can recommend this video and help us to promote this channel. And we promise you that in terms of bringing valuable content, we are not going to disappoint you. Have a very, very great day today.